if you've gotten to the screen, then you have a new email account. And then if you hit continue to Gmail, it will load your inbox. And it will pop up lots of things to ask you, to welcome you to Gmail, and then it will ask you, would you like to do these other Google services? So I'm just going to say no about most of these things.
So you check the X
I'm
on
hitting
the
the X up there, and I'm hitting, here's an option about getting Gmail for mobile and changing your profile. Lots of things you could do, and at some point you might want to, but not when we're first getting started, so we can hit the X, which will dismiss. Okay, so this is my inbox. This is what it will look like. In general, when I'm using Gmail, I already have 3 emails, aren't I popular? And they're all from the Gmail team. You should have these also. So this is what your email looks like. In general, you've got the inbox, which is where any mail that you receive will be visible when you're looking at your inbox. And it will come in here. You'll see who it's from. You'll see the subject line, or the part from the subject of the text, and then the start of the text that came in. It'll tell you what time it came in, and it'll tell you what date it came in if you have things that are older. And if you want to look at one of these emails, you just click on them.
Who is like
If you click on a message, it'll show you the content of the message.
There you go.
When you're looking at an individual email, it will tell you the subject up at the top, who it's from, when it was sent, and then the content of the email. It might have some pictures in it. It might just be straight text. There might be some other things that are reasonably complicated about it. And if you want, once you're done reading an email, you could just go back to your inbox. But if you want to reply to an email, the little backwards arrow, and whenever you're using this, if you aren't sure what will happen if you click on it, usually if you move the mouse over and hover, it will tell you what will happen, in a short description. So in this case, it would be reply if I clicked on here. That would send an email back to the person, which is useful because that's how we have conversations. Is usually, I don't usually type in somebody's email address. I'll usually reply to something that they ask me, unless I'm starting a new conversation. And so, I'll ask a quick question, and then they'll respond, and then I'll reply, and they'll reply, and I'll reply, and I'll reply, and then eventually that conversation will be over until we start a new one. And Gmail will help group all those things into a single conversation, which, I think Steve can talk about more next week in terms of managing your inbox, because he'll be using Gmail as well. So that's your inbox, looking at a mail and replying to a mail. If you want to just send a mail to somebody and you know their email address, because that's all you need, you click on Compose, and that will pop open this little window. You'll need to say who you're sending it to, so you'll put in their email address. Once you've been using your email for a while, you may have contacts build up, so you'll have people's names and addresses that are associated. So at that point, you'll be able to put in their name instead of remembering their email address. But for now, typically you want to put in a subject line in an email. It's the thing that will show up in bold when they see the email, so it gets their attention to what it's about. It's not required, but it is helpful, and it's just sort of a good social etiquette thing to include a meaningful subject to let people know what the topic of your email is. Sometimes as you have conversations, the topic may vary from the original subject, but they're still tied together in conversation based on the original topic. it's about my new email account. And then in the big box, I can put as much text as I want. I can, type a long essay. I can just type a word. I can do things like that. I can say as much as I want. If it didn't all fit in this box, then it would become a scroll. It would have a little scroll bar on the right, and so then I could put as many words in there as I wanted. And when I'm done, I can hit send. And I got a little pop-up window that said sending, and then your message has been sent. And I can see what message it was that I sent.
If you get an email that has an attachment, I think on mine I see a little paper clip over on the right. Are they all that way?
Yes, they're mostly all that way.
And you just click on the paper clip, is that how you do the attachment?
Yeah, often you click on the paperclip, or if you open the email first, and then at the bottom there's usually an indication of attachment. It might show the paperclip, or it might show the name of the file that's attached. And you can do that if you know that you can trust the person who sent the attachment and it's the attachment you're expecting. Attachments can be dangerous because they can contain files that are bad for your computer, viruses and things like that. And so if you receive an email that has an attachment and it's not from somebody you know, or even if it is from somebody you know but it looks a little suspicious, it's possible that their email account got a virus, and so they're sending things out to spread the virus. And so you want to be very cautious about clicking on attachments. Up here I could click on the backwards arrow to reply, or at the bottom it also says I can click to reply, reply to all, or forward. If I click reply, it will send a response to him.
Yeah.
It's okay, tell them.
And it will group that together as part of this conversation. So this was the first message that was sent, and then it's showing the second message. If we get more and more, eventually it'll crunch the ones in the middle together.
I was supposed to.
But they're still available, so you can see them if you click on it. So that way, if you're having a conversation, it keeps everything with the same subject line grouped, so you can trace back to see what was said previously. The third option that's here is forward. If Shelley sends me an email and I receive this and I say, oh, this is really nice, I'd like to send it to a third person who wasn't involved in this conversation, but I want them to know what he had to say, then I can click forward. Well, actually, this point, I'm forwarding our entire conversation, including the one from me. And then it's taking the whole conversation that has been sent before, but it doesn't know who I'm sending it to. So it lets me identify who I'm sending it to. And then they will see the whole message come in. This is particularly useful if somebody, for instance, if you're looking for a job and somebody, you send your resume to somebody and they say, oh, I'll forward this on to the next person. The attachments that are sent in the original email will be included when you forward a message. If there's an attachment and you do a reply, it will not include the attachments in the reply. And that's just the way the mail systems work, because they figure if you're replying, the people who received it already got the attachments. You don't need to send those same copies. You don't need to send copies of those every time you send a message. But on a forward, you're sending it on to a person who hasn't been involved, and so they haven't seen the attachments yet. We've got our inbox, which is our most popular thing to look at. That's any messages that come in to us. You can see that messages that I've read are showing up as not bolded. They're kind of regular font, and the ones I haven't gotten around to reading yet, these first two from Gmail and this one from Martha, are shown as bold to help stand out. Hey, you haven't read this yet, to help draw my attention to it. And it will highlight how many messages are unread. Over here where it says inbox 3, that number 3 isn't the number of messages in my inbox, it's the number of unread messages in my inbox. Because if I've read all my email, then that number will be 0, whether I've responded to it or not. They don't know or they don't care. They figure if I've read it, I've done what I want to do with it. But then if that number goes up and to 7, it's like, oh, there's more messages that have come in. I can see that from the very top that there's how many things in my email I haven't read. So under the inbox, there's this notion of starred, which you, as I said, you can star emails to have them stand out. It's not a feature of Gmail that I use, but it's there for you, and if, you know, it just is you can define what the stars are, or how many there are, I think. It's a way of making emails that are important to you stand out. If I've sent emails, a copy of every email I've sent will be in my sent mail folder. So this is a way to find out if the message that Rose sent, where they went. I click on sent, it's not showing my inbox anymore, it's just showing the emails that I've sent from this account. And so I can see there's 2 of them, and when they were sent. And so if you click on your sent folder, you might be able to see the at who it was sent to. So the next thing down under the sent folder is called the drafts folder. And if I click on it now, it should be empty because I don't have any drafts. A draft is basically just an email that I started to write, and then I said, oh, I'll come back to this later. And so so if I start to type,
Those, the key is,
I'll go to
yeah, and then start to type something.
and then so I start to type this, and then I can either minimize this, in which case it'll collapse down at the bottom of the screen, and then I can go back to my inbox and do some other things. I might even close this, and I close the window for the editing, but the stuff that I started to write should still be there. And we can see now in my drafts folder, it now shows that there's one
So if you type something, just type something.
thing there. So if I click on my draft folder,
roll.
there's the one that I started to type, and if I want to, I can add more to it. And I can do that as many times as I want.
Fun. So you didn't put anything in there,
And
that's fine.
Gmail
You
will
click
will
this
automatically save, as I'm typing,
in your
it'll
drafts.
save my
You
draft
click
as I'm
that,
going
you'll see
along.
it.
And so I don't need to click on
You
anything,
didn't
so
put
save
any
this
out here.
for later,
This is-
it'll just automatically
that's
save
it.
it.